Riding flat, does it worth it? Riding flat does have a lot of advantages. I bought these frames. I bought a bunch of flat frames during last fall. If you notice that I'm definitely not your typical flat skater, but I'm always curious. I always keep an open mind to any kind of gear or setup that I could try. It's always fun to experiment with new things and get these new sensations. Rollerblading is all about these sensations that you get from rolling, jumping, and shooting. But I was wondering, does it worth it to ride flat? At least for me. I always wonder. And to be honest, to me, it doesn't worth it. And I see a lot of people who ride flat and they don't utilize the advantages that you get from fully flat or rockered flat setups. By rockered, I mean when the inner wheels are sticking out by 1 or 2 millimeters, so you get this very good responsive fast turns. You could do a bunch of tricks on ground that makes your movements, makes your rolling much more smoother and much more continuous. I prefer to skate on street, and most of my tricks, pretty much all my tricks, I never really include tricks that are focused on rolling or the smoothness of the turns. So I mostly just ride anti-rocker, and nowadays I ride mostly freestyle. At least to me, I came to the conclusion that I'm just totally fine with having 2 wheels touching the ground, and this gives me much better feel and control over my movements. I noticed that I sometimes feel a bit unstable with flat or rocker setups. My most important principle with skates and frames: keep it light. Keep it light and keep it very simple. That is why I mostly like to remove all things that are not necessary for the purpose. So most of the time I don't need the extra weight of carrying 2 extra sets of bearings. I mean 4 bearings and 2 wheels and the 2 axles. That is why I prefer mostly this frame nowadays. I don't even ride anti-rocker a lot anymore. Speed and comfort wise, I am really happy with riding large soft wheels, and nowadays I use ceramic bearings, which are holding up really well even after skating a very dusty spot. I've been using the ones that I have in this one for quite some time. Started skating these last year. This is not really the dust you're hearing. These bearings get a bit worn. They have a little play. Mostly this one. But it feels like with ceramic bearings, at least these ceramic bearings, the wear doesn't really affect the speed. They don't seem to be getting slower, to be honest. They feel like they're getting faster. The only thing that I need to pay attention is to keep them oiled. Sometimes they get a bit squeaky if I don't oil them. So overall, speed-wise and comfort-wise, I'm totally happy with riding the most minimal, but I would say quite high-end setup, because these are not the, it's pretty much in the upper end or the highest end of the price ladder in terms of wheels and bearings. But I'm working on the bearing video, the best bearings for aggressive, and that could take probably 1 more year, because I want to try out a couple more high-end bearings, Swiss bearings, testing ceramics and ILQs but it's going to take quite a long time. I just really feel like everyone lives in their own world, because I mostly see park skaters being evangelists for flat skating, and I totally see why. Flat skating is great for park, because very often when you jump, you don't jump from flat, you often jump from by using a quarter pipe or bank, or if you're riding mini ramp or bowls. Flat or rocker is probably very ideal for that environment. So that is why I totally see how flat skating in these environments make total sense. I am of the belief that the right job requires the right tool. I sometimes go with a couple frames in my bag. I mostly bring freestyle frames, couple anti-rocker, and I bring one flat frame, rocker flat frame, and if I want to skate flat, if I have a trick in mind that requires that, I use the physics with flat setup with a slide rocker. It gets quite weird because it's suspended, but it's a very dampened ride, a bit less predictable, but it's definitely fun. Just to summarize it, skating flat, does it worth it? It's definitely worth it if you're skating an environment or you're doing tricks where you can utilize the advantages of a flat setup. But I say, if you don't require it, if you feel much more stable with having more pressure distributed on two wheels, which I personally prefer, you should probably just leave out any unnecessary equipment that could impede your ability to do what you planned.